What's your favorite George Clooney movie? Did you know he played a Jedi alongside Ewan McGregor? You're going to be so mad when I reveal the title of this movie. It's day 81 of 365. Today's movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats. Directed by Grant Heslov in his directorial debut, and I guess swan song, because this is the one and only feature film that he's directed. He's written a bunch, he's involved in the industry, but this is the only one that he went out to direct himself. I think that's kind of awesome to have one banger, and that's it, one and done. I salute you, Grant. It also stars George Clooney, Ewan McGregor, Jeff Bridges, Stephen Root, and Kevin Spacey. Ugh. Now, this is a stacked out cast, and this is a movie that is just so much fun to watch. I gotta admit, I had forgotten how good this one was until my recent rewatch, because I haven't seen it since the theater. When I saw it in theaters, I didn't get it, I'm gonna be honest. This is a post-Iraq war movie talking about things from more Vietnam and World War II era on, and the warfare that's happened in between, and kind of the crazy spiritual connection between Americans and our love of wanting to grow as people and also be violent terrorists around the world. I kind of love that as a opening statement for what you want your movie to be about. But I wasn't clocking any of that when I was a kid. I just went in because this is one that my older brother wanted to see. I liked George Clooney, and they said Jedi in the trailer, so I guess I was kind of in at that point. And no, I'm not kidding about that Jedi thing. That's not only text within the film, but if we look at the mustache that Ewan McGregor adopts by the end of the film, mirroring George Clooney's character's look, he's become a Jedi in his own right. And so they are both technically Jedi by the end of this movie. I also love the opening and closing scene being perfect bookends. They just talked about this in the studio as one of the episodes. Bookends are a great way to show the audience that you've come full circle, and the bloody nose smack off the wall at the beginning turning into a literal phasing by the end. And I do think it's meant to be taken literally. I don't think that's meant to be taken metaphorically, because none of the other powers in this movie are shown to be wrong. They're just not what you expect when you hear things like psychics and remote viewing and things of that nature. Invisibility is not exactly what you think it is, but it is a thing that is taught to like the CIA because of this research. With all those topics swirling around our psychic minds, let's talk about my 3 favorite things about The Men Who Stare at Goats. The first thing that I love so much is the Coen Brothers influence on this movie. And I'm not talking just in the casting with Jeff Bridges, George Clooney, and Ewan McGregor, who have all been in Coen Brothers productions like Hail Caesar, Fargo adaptations for TV, and The Dude, of course. The influences here expand outside of that, with the attraction to real-world stories lensed through above and beyond out there characters, and then placed into situations that are dryly funny. We'll get to that one in the next section. But I think that the Coen Brothers' influence here is what really shines through. I love an alike movie. Tarantino alikes usually aren't as good as a Tarantino, but it's still fun that someone could turn a director's style almost into a genre. If you ask me who made The Men That Stare at Goats and I wasn't aware of who the director was already, I would have guessed the Coen Brothers. This is exactly their kind of movie. George Clooney staring down a goat until it drops dead? I'm sorry, that is exactly the kind of thing the Coens would bring to us. And so it's not shocking to me that many people, when I look online, believe this to be a Coen Brothers production. It's not, it just happens to ape them a lot. And you can tell that these actors have learned a lot from working with them over the years. Also, I can't believe I said Hail Caesar and not Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for George Clooney. I do some of these off the cuff, so sorry about that one. If Hail Caesar wasn't your bag, I understand. The second thing that I love so much is that dry humor. This is something that's hard for some movies to really nail as a tone. There are a lot of movies with dry humor within it, movies that have a single character whose humor is dry, but not many movies whose entire joke set is essentially dry humor. That's the part that makes this all work for me. And I think the linchpin's actually Ewan McGregor. His straight man who wants to bust out and be one of these guys works so well contrasted with the insanity of George Clooney. And we get a taste of this at the beginning of the movie when we get the hamster scene. I recall the hamster scene making me laugh out loud in theaters just because of its absurdity. and it's played perfectly straight. This is something that only Stephen Root and Ewan McGregor can do with their skill set, not only as actors, but as comedy actors. That's not something you would normally think of Ewan McGregor for, but his ability to play a straight man is a comedic timing. This is Abbott and Costello spun out 80 years later into a dynamic duo setup that we see introduced across the whole movie. To me, dry humor is the heart of being able to execute something funny just enough that the audience gets that it's funny. If this movie had a different title like MKUltra, it wouldn't work as well. The Men Who Stare at Goats is an introductory sample. It's an appetizer to let you know, hey, we're not taking this totally seriously. The movie title lets you know this is kind of absurd. And if you look at it through that lens, the absurd things that happen to them, like getting stuck in the desert or kidnapped by terrorists or lacing LSD through an entire military encampment, those kinds of things played perfectly straight almost become non-jokes. But you can see the joke through them because of the title. And I love that. I love that adherence to this idea overall. The third thing that I love so much about this movie, and I'm going to kind of continue off the last few points, is the MKUltra angle. This is something that for a comedy makes sense to me. This is ripe for the picking, but the decision to place this within the kind of separation between journalism and the military, and the approach that something like using drugs and spiritualism and occult training and esoteria, the ways that these things are at odds with each other, adds to the absurdity overall for the movie. It makes the jokes land that much funnier to know that this is the US military doing a lot of this stuff for real, in real life. We took a lot of notes from the Nazis in trying to incorporate the occult and spiritualism into our warfare. And the thing that happens, and the reason Jeff Bridges is really here, is to show that these kinds of things are at odds with the military, with capitalism, with the things that make the military-industrial complex stand up. If you are fervent and real in your approach about learning about these things, you will distance yourself from all of it. And so the fact that he was able to create a unit secretly inside the military, this is crazy stuff to me. I really love to see the execution of why these ideas are kind of not able to work together. Kevin Spacey, yikes, is here as our villain to kind of show us why these things don't work. When you even take them one step separated from the wisdom that comes with them, you end up with insane ways of attacking people, ways that attack not just their body or their brain, but their mind and spirit, the things that are intangible to us that we don't want to attack because that is someone's humanity. But what did you think of The Men Who Stare at Ghosts? Did you skip this one because it looked crazy, or did you check it out because George Clooney and Jedis? We're going to stick in the comedy vein, but change gears entirely with a 5%er for Rotten Tomatoes. We're talking about Old Dogs next, and as always, I will see you tomorrow.